You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Braves on Deck. If you have not already, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at Braves on Deck. We are live on YouTube. We are live on TikTok. We have a lot to discuss when it comes to the Atlanta Braves, and we've been waiting a while to have something to really discuss. I was hoping it would be maybe some additions, and we have a couple. But mainly, this is going to be negative news, right? Injuries are never fun, and that's what that's the lead tonight. If it bleeds, it leads, and right now that's the case. Of course, we are mainly talking about Spencer Schwellenbach, who is on the 60-day injured list, not even really a day into spring training. He is apparently having bone spurs, which, if you're looking for a positive, this is not like it's Tommy John. He will not miss all of the season based on what we know now. Obviously, things can develop later in the year, but as of right now, he will be back prior to the All-Star break, the hopes are. But this does leave some concern with a rotation that, frankly, was already going to be a little bit, questionable. You do have a couple of guys that are going to hold it down. Chris Sale has been the guy that has held the rotation down, has been the real staple in the rotation for the better part of 2 or 3 seasons now. He's expected to do it again. Spencer Strider, another one that very well is looking for a solid year, coming off of, last year where he didn't really get the full off season. He wasn't really himself. He's looking to be kind of the staple, the guy, and take the next step as a leader in the rotation. After that, it gets really questionable. You have a guy, Reynaldo Lopez, coming off of injury. You have Grant Holmes coming off of injury. And as much as I like both of those guys in the rotation, I like them better in the pen, especially Grant Holmes. Reynaldo Lopez has become a starter, and so has Grant Holmes, but there's a reason those guys are injured. And I have my doubts when it comes to them in the rotation. Not to say that they can't do it. I have my doubts when it comes to both of those guys in the rotation because they were career relievers for the most part prior to their time at the major league level in the case of Grant Holmes or with the Braves in the case of Reynaldo Lopez. After those 4, you do have a few options. I'm going to run through them really quickly. Hurston Waldrop is probably the most appealing to the chat. If I had to guess, he's a guy in the minors who we've seen glimpses of greatness. He had a really good tenure at Florida. Bryce Elder is probably the least favorite option out of the chat, if I had to guess. And then Joey Wentz is another that is on the fringe that could very well get the selection if he has a good spring training. Here's the deal. When it comes to how this decision is going to be made, sure, spring training will have something to do with it. But I also want you to realize that Grant Holmes and Bryce Elder are both out of options, as is Joey Wentz. So they're probably going to have that playing to their favor. If Bryce Elder has a decent spring training, the fact that he's out of options, the Braves are going to find somewhere to slot him in because they don't necessarily want to lose him. Now, on the outside looking in for the rotation, you do have a couple of guys in the minors I did want to mention. J.R. Ritchie is a guy that has really had a solid minor league career. I don't think he's ready yet. That said, the Braves are no strangers to fast-tracking pitchers to the majors. Didier Fuentes, anyone. Lucas Braun is the other that I've seen kind of firsthand. Solid arms that very well could. They're both in Gwinnett right now, or at least finish the year in Gwinnett. They could very well fast-track to the major league level given these circumstances. That said, I believe that the Braves really need to go out and get a free agent. Framber Valdez is now off the market. There's not a ton left that are solid starters that are going to post up every 5th day, and certainly not very many when it comes to elite. Zach Gallen would be my favorite choice if the Braves were able to pull that off. The one that they've been linked with the most seems to be Chris Bassitt. Mark Bowman predicted his opening day roster, and Chris Bassitt was on it. Lucas Giolito, I believe, is still out there. So there's a few guys that are out there that I think the Braves have to be in on the conversations with and have to try to land one of those guys. Because if you have a rotation where it's Chris Sale, Spencer Strider, Spencer Schwellenbach, and then you have Reynaldo Lopez, Grant Holmes with all the other options in the mix, that's not bad. But when you're starting the season with only two at the top that or in theory, are going to be solid, that gives me kind of cause for concern. I don't want to go to the trade deadline needing a starting pitcher. I want to get this settled right now if possible, because right now is when we need him. At the trade deadline, we'd have Schwellenbach back. I don't want to get off to the start that 2025 got off to, where we start the season 0-for-7 and we're not doing anything. And pitching is one of the most important components to that. I think Double-A in the Braves front office is probably working tirelessly to land a Zach Gallen or a Lucas Giolito or a Chris Bassitt. Any of those guys I'd pretty much be happy with, but Chris Bassitt and Zach Gallen would be my top two, Zach Gallen being my number one. It's not just who we don't have on the pitching side of things. Catcher has also been cause for concern. Throughout the offseason, we found out that Sean Murphy had hip surgery. He is on the mend from that. No word yet on when he's coming back. Could be around the All-Star break, could be a little later. We don't really know. He had a torn labrum, which required surgery, something that he played through last year. Obviously, it's great that you have Drake Baldwin. After that, it got kind of questionable, and the Braves, I was happy to see this. The Braves went and signed Jonah Heim to a $1.5 million contract. The fact that they went out and did that, I would be willing to bet that that's more than likely going to be your backup. I'd be surprised if he wasn't. You also have Sandy Leon there as well. Maybe it's a competition at spring training, but all in all, I'd be willing to bet that Jonah Heim is going to be your backup catcher behind Drake Baldwin up until when and if Sean Murphy does return. That's, out there, but Nacho Alvarez has been working with the catchers. I don't think they're turning him into a catcher. I think he's just improving himself to maybe get a bench spot on the 40-man roster, or maybe even work his way up to get a bench spot at the major league level actively. I also wanted to mention in the opening block of the show tonight, and this is something that I think we need to take a minute and talk about. Marcell Ozuna is no longer an Atlanta Brave, and had you told me this 3 years ago, had you told me this maybe 2 years ago, I think a lot of people would have been very happy, and there probably some are that are still happy that we let him go. I will tell you that I am happy we let him go purely from a financial standpoint, but that guy in the Braves tenure, obviously tumultuous times, we had ups and downs, but when he was up, there wasn't a better bat in the lineup. And of course, I think he turned his life around in Atlanta. Obviously he's headed to Pittsburgh now. Pittsburgh fans have been hot and cold on it. Imagine that. I would say give him a shot. 1 year, $12 million is a pretty good price for Marcell Ozuna's bat when he's good. And when he's not good, a lot of times he's not healthy. We saw that this past year. So Marcell Ozuna will not be returning to the Braves. This just proves to me also, from a Braves perspective, a lot was made when we did not trade Ozuna this past season. I believe we tried. I believe the only offers that were made were more than likely pennies on the dollar, and they weren't going to do that, so they let him finish the year in a Braves uniform. Obviously, we didn't get anything for Marcell Ozuna, but, I think what he did for the Braves, he, by all accounts, he was a good teammate. We can say that. And obviously, he had years of success where he was untouchable at the plate. 2020, good Lord. He was absolutely phenomenal at the plate. 23, he was solid. He carried the lineup at times during 2024 and 2025. So obviously the negatives are always going to take precedent in a lot of people's minds, but I don't think the negatives outweigh the positives when it comes to the tenure of Marcell Ozuna in Atlanta. Let me know what you think about Marcell Ozuna in the comments section. Let me know what you think about all of these pitching injuries, including Schwellenbach as well as Joe Jimenez. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. And let me know also who you want to sign. Do you want to go out and get Zach Gallen? Do you want to go out and get Chris Bassitt, Lucas Giolito? If there's someone I haven't mentioned, let me know in the comment section as well. Hello to O Bearded One on TikTok, Corey Carter, Sergeant Gibby, Yasuki Knight, Daniel Berry. A lot of folks tuning in tonight. Really do appreciate that as well. And of course, stick with us. We're going to break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about kind of where we go from here with Bryce Elder, where we go from here with the bullpen. We have a lot to talk about, so stay with us. We're going to break really quickly on YouTube, TikTok. We're not going anywhere. And also, if you're watching on TikTok, check out the YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe. We got a lot of great content coming out this week. Andrew Jones is now a Baseball Hall of Famer, rightfully so. I took the time to speak with Glenn Hubbard, who was a coach with Andrew, Leo Mazzoni, who is the pitching coach during Andrew's rookie season and beyond, as well as Johnny Estrada, former teammate of Andrew. Those are coming out as we speak. Glenn Hubbard came out last week. I believe we're putting out Estrada this week. So a lot of good content on the YouTube channel. If you have already not seen it, we really encourage you to go check that out. So we're going to break on YouTube. When we get back, we're talking bullpen as well as Bryce Elder. Stay with us. That's coming up next.
At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika, let's kick off 2026 with a bang. We will not be undersold. Powerful full-size GMC Sierras up to $14,000 off. GMC 2500 heavy-duty pickup up to $9,000 off. No payments until springtime. Get your lowest price guaranteed today. Smart people from all over the USA come to Glenn Smith Chevrolet. Get ready to smile. At Glenn Smith Chevrolet, let's kick off 2026 with a bang. We will not be undersold. Chevy Traverse with 3-row seating up to $7,250 off. The impressive Chevy Equinox up to $5,500 off. Enjoy no payments until springtime. Get your lowest price guaranteed today. Smart people from all over the USA come to Glenn Smith Chevrolet. Get ready to smile.
All right, guys, welcome back. We just obviously discussed Schwellenbach. We discussed free agents that are available. I got one in the TikTok chat that I wanted to mention as well. This is from O Bearded One, who says Zach Littell is an interesting name. He's made 75 starts in the last 3 years with a 3.67 ERA. What I'll say about that, he is currently still available according to O Bearded One. What I'll say about that is it is an under-the-radar move. It is something that could very well happen. It's something that could happen where we address the need without spending a ton of money, which is right up Alex Anthopoulos' alley. So very possible. Obviously not a guarantee, but is very possible. I wanted to kind of shift gears from the rotation and discuss Joe Jimenez for just a second. Joe Jimenez, obviously a guy that has had injury trouble for the past couple of seasons now. And now we're finding out from Walt Weiss as we begin spring training that he very well could miss this entire season too. Obviously upsetting. This is one of the few bullpen arms that the Braves did invest in. They did give him a pretty decent contract a few years ago, and now he once again will be out for the season. Not ideal in the slightest. Not his fault, but not ideal. I wanted to kind of go through what we're looking at with the bullpen right now and just kind of what it looks like as we begin this season. Possibilities, who we know will be in the bullpen, but who we think could be in the bullpen as well. Right now, this is what I got. I got Marcell Iglesias and Robert Suarez kind of sharing the closer role, 8th and 9th inning, just depending on the day. I think eventually Robert Suarez will win out in that position. Marcell's been the guy for a long time in Atlanta, but I do think Robert Suarez will eventually become the Braves closer full-time, whether Iglesias is on the roster or not. Looks like Aaron Bummer and Dylan Lee will be your primary lefties. I like that. I really like Dylan Lee. I said last year I thought that would be a year that he could break out. I believe this year is just another one of those years. He did beat the Braves in arbitration. They offered him $2 million. He wanted 2.6. He got it. And I'm not surprised by that, to be honest with you. He's had really solid seasons. And obviously also used quite a bit of his options. He's been very overlooked in the Braves bullpen, in my opinion. Some other guys keep an eye out. Tyler Kinley, we signed him earlier this year as well. He could be a factor, right-handed pitcher. Another right-handed pitcher that's won me over the years is Daysbel Hernandez. Daysbel is a guy that has had good outings. He's had bad outings, but when he's healthy, he seems to be really consistent. So we'll see. Outside looking in, and this can always change, Joe Piamps is one of those guys that could very well funnel into the bullpen as well. All in all, I don't know if that'll be the case, but Joe Piamps could very well make his move for the Braves rotation. And there, like I said, there's still guys in the minor leagues that could very well get their first shot in the bullpen. We mentioned Hurston Waldrop earlier. If he is not a starter beginning of this season, he very well could begin in the bullpen. Bryce Elder could find a spot in the bullpen. Joey Wentz could find a spot in the bullpen because those guys are both out of options. If you're not going to put them in the rotation, the bullpen may be where they end up. I would say Joey Wentz would probably be more likely in that case, mainly because Bryce Elder in the bullpen, unless it's long relief, I just don't see how that'll be successful. In the minor leagues, there is some guys. Giancarlos Lara is a name you ought to look out for. He's a guy that can throw 102. He can locate 100. But he's a guy that's got velocity. There's no doubt about it. He's a guy I've also seen in person, and he's got the arm, and that that is certainly a big factor in how things get decided. So a lot of folks joining tonight, a lot of folks in the TikTok chat. Really do appreciate you. A lot of folks on YouTube. We're going to try to get to as many comments as we can. If you're on YouTube, remember Super Chats gets you bumped to the top of the line. If you have a question in particular on TikTok, I'm going to get to as many of you as I can, except John Surratt. Forget him. But, we'll see. And the first one we're going to go to is actually the guy we heard from earlier, Bearded One. What are your thoughts on Nacho practicing catcher today? I mentioned this earlier. I don't believe he's going to be a catcher. I think he's doing exactly what the Braves are saying and exactly what he is saying, which is adding versatility to his game. And that basically makes him a more valuable bench spot or a more valuable bench player. You can put him in more roles, right? So if, for example, if you're building a team and you got a guy that can play first base, outfield, and catcher, and maybe he hits 230, but he can draw walks and he's fast and he's got a solid glove at all of those positions, he might be more valuable than a big lefty bat that might hit a homer, right? Because you can use him in more avenues, and that's exactly what the case is. In an emergency situation, if I can throw Nacho behind the plate to catch a couple of innings and get me through the day, that is valuable. It also makes him more valuable as a trade asset, which is something I want you to realize too. Could make him more valuable in a trade if you just add on to the caveat, he can catch if need be. So pretty interesting. Was definitely caught off guard once, once we saw the videos of him catching, like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Didn't give it much thought just because it's kind of a under the radar thing going on in spring training, especially when you have Schwellenbach and Joe Jimenez getting hurt and everything else. Us signing, Jonah Heim. You have a lot going on. It did make the cut of what we were going to talk about tonight, but it wasn't my biggest priority. That said, I definitely think it's purely to add versatility to his abilities. So he seemed to look very comfortable behind the plate, so we'll see. Let's see. Sergeant Gibby says Walt Weiss is going to have to work his magic. Well, to me, before Walt Weiss perform some magic. I think Double A is going to have to perform some magic when it comes to trades or when it comes to signing guys. I really think a starting pitcher right now is an absolute necessity. When you're missing Spencer Schwellenbach for the entire first half of the season and you don't know who your fifth starter is right now. I didn't even mention A.J. Smith-Shawver. I'm not sure where he is on his recovery. I think he's doing well. I don't know if he'll be ready for opening day, but he's a guy that definitely belongs in the conversation of the outside looking in of Hurston Waldrop, Bryce Elder, Joey Wentz, and I'll add A.J. Smith-Shawver in there. That is a guy that I think could very well be a solid pitcher, but it's kind of we got to see how things go and go with the hot hand, which is not really an ideal situation because we've done that before, and that's why you have Bryce Elder out of options. That's why you have Grant Holmes out of options. And you don't want to consistently get these guys out of options. You want to make sure that you do have an established roster to some degree. And right now we really don't. We don't have an established anything really. I mean, outside of the lineup, which by the way, good to see. The lineup is pretty much already there. Riley's there, Acuna's there, Ozzy's there, Olson's there. I mean, a lot of guys are already there that aren't pitchers and catchers. They don't necessarily have to report early. By the way, Austin Riley looks noticeably slimmer. He's sporting longer hair, and he has a beard. He has joined the club of the beard. I like it. We'll see if it does anything for his game, but I really do like it. So, obviously, we're going to continue to answer your questions, get them in. Really do appreciate it. If you're on TikTok, thank you for watching. If you're on YouTube, thank you for watching. Obviously, much to discuss, but again, let me know what free agents you want to go after. Let me know if there's a trade out there you want. Also, if there's anybody out there that just makes sense that the Braves should go out and get, or if they should have gone out and got them and they didn't, right? Framber just got off the market. Braves didn't make a move there. He is headed to the Tigers along with Justin Verlander, which is obviously a throwback for me. Surratt says it would be nice for Profar to break out this year. It would be nice for everybody to break out this year. Profar for sure because we invested in him. Obviously didn't get off to the best start in his first season with the Braves. It would definitely be better for him to break out this season and perform. And I certainly hope that is the case. I like Profar. I think he's a solid talent. I don't think that his success in San Diego was only due to, PEDs or anything like that. I do think he's a solid ball player. I think he proved it this past season, but I hope he continues to do that. And I also hope that, as a team, we get more consistent because that's one thing we weren't last year at the plate was consistent. And we really haven't been since 2023. Our pitching has been good when people are healthy, but, we'll have to see. Sergeant Gibby wants Chris Bassitt. I like that move. Mark Bowman likes that move. There's a lot of guys out there that would love that move. I like it. I would like Zach Gallen a little more. And that may be right or wrong in your opinion, but I would like Zach Gallen just a little more if you can get him. But if I had to put money on it, I think Chris Bassitt is the more likely option because I think he's probably the more affordable option. And I do think he'd fit in well with the clubhouse. I think it would be pretty solid, but we'll see. Bearded one who brought up Zach Littell earlier, he drops in, Littell is a projected 2-year, $24 million acquisition, which is right in our budget. Completely agree. I like the idea. I think they're going to entertain that. If they're not already talking to Littell, I'd be surprised based on that. I don't know if they'll necessarily do it because they may be willing to spend a little bit more money now that they're out from under the luxury tax, which they are, which is a positive for the Braves. But I definitely think Littell could very well be the case. Thank you for this. This is actually a pretty good to respond to the Bassitt idea, Sergeant Gibby. Bassitt apparently worked with our new pitching coach in New York, which I did not know. That's pretty good. That's pretty good grab. Like that a lot. Mass Boost says Braves have Waldrop, Holmes, Elder, Martin Perez, Richie, Jose Suarez, Wentz, and Fuentes as starting pitching options. So several options. All right, who would you go with out of those options? I don't know, Bass Boost says Zach Gallen would cost you the 26th pick in the draft. Well, that's the thing, right? Trades are going to cost you a lot of things. For me right now, there's been a lot made about whether or not Acuna is going to be with the Braves the next 3 seasons or beyond that. I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller. What I do think is the Braves know that they have a window right now to win. They are poised to make a breakout season this year. I think they're second on Fangraphs, if I heard correctly, to compete for a World Series. They're ranked second behind the Dodgers, which wouldn't have been, what I thought would have been the case. I do believe they are poised to do something this year, and I do think that the Braves know that they are in a window right now to compete, and there's not a ton in the minor leagues, especially offensively, to refill what we have. So it is kind of, in my opinion, if it's not a win now mentality, I think it's the wrong mentality. And I used to feel differently. I used to think, well, we got plenty of time. Let's let this window play out. The window used to be a decade. Now we're looking at 3 or 4 or 5 years with this core that we have, maybe less. I mean, Ozzy Albies, had to pick up an option for Ozzy Albies this year. So, I mean, this core is not going to be around forever, right? You may keep 1 or 2. I mean, obviously Olsen and Riley and Harris are signed far beyond this, but Acuna's gone in 2030, I think, or 28, something like that. So that, I mean, it's coming up soon. Ozzy Albies could have already been gone this past season. You do have a good core that will be there for a while. With the addition of Drake Baldwin, I mean, he'll be there in theory for quite a while. But I do think that it is a win now mentality. So we'll see. So that we got a conversation in the chat. Sergeant Gibby says we need the guys who give us the best chance to win baseball games. Didier Fuentes isn't ready. Here's my thought on that, right? There are some guys in the minors that could be ready. I don't know that Didier Fuentes is ready. I think that's a fair take. Hurston Waldrop could be. I haven't seen enough to know whether he is or not. But here's the other thing that I think a lot of people don't consider. Guys like Hurston Waldrop, guys like Elder, guys like A.J. Smith-Shawver, you can't let them come up, let them have a good start, and then get shelled the next day and then send them down. In my opinion, you can't do that because you have to let them see major league hitters to learn how to pitch to major league hitters. And I don't know that the Braves right now have a spot open where they can afford to do that, which is why I think we need to go get a Zach Gallen or a Chris Bassitt. It's not that they can't be something or that they're not ready. They're on a team where we don't have the time to wait necessarily. If you don't come up and frankly provide pretty immediate results where you can pitch 6 innings every 5th day with 2 or 3 or less runs, I don't know that we have the time to wait. Especially with the offensive challenges that we've had over the past couple of seasons. I just don't know that that's the case, which is why I like the idea of spending money on a Zach Gallen, on spending money on a Chris Bassitt. And the Braves may feel differently. They may feel that we got these prospects and we got this rotating hand of guys that we can pull up and ride the wave, so to speak. Maybe that's the case. From the outside looking in, I see a rotation that just got dwindled with the loss of Schwellenbach, and I think we need a replacement as good or better. And to be honest with you, I thought we could have used a starting pitcher prior to Schwellenbach going down. So for me, it's a thing where I like Schwellenbach, I like Strider, I like Sale. After that, I have questions because that's only 2 right now that we have field. Strider and Sale, right? After that, it's Grant Holmes and it's Reynaldo Lopez. I like both of those guys. I think Grant Holmes has been a godsend. Personally, I like Grant Holmes more in the pen because he's a weapon you can go to anytime you need him, who can cover 2 or 3 innings and get you out of problems. Or just cover games where you don't necessarily want to use your high-end guys who can have some length. And that's a tool that we don't necessarily have in the bag anymore. And I think Grant Holmes could firm up your bullpen that much more if you add him back to the pen and then brought in a starter. That's my take. But again, right now, I already thought we needed a starting pitcher. Now, I think even more so, the Braves need to go out and get a starting pitcher. Whether it's Gallen, whether it's Bassitt, whether it's Giolito, or whether it is Littell or anyone else that's available, they need someone who they know can perform at the major league level. And I'm sure one day Hurston Waldrop will be that guy. It very well could be this season. But I'd much rather have the insurance policy of having someone who is performing and is ready to go, especially when you have guys like Reynaldo, like Grant Holmes, and to a point, even Strider, and later this season, even Schwellenbach coming off of injury. That's my take. Let's see. We had a comment in here about Acuna, I think. Yeah. Acuna is an unrestricted free agent after the 2028 season. So, yeah, to me, the window right now is 2028. Because let's ask ourselves, who's the best player on the Braves? It's Ronald Acuna. That's who you've built around, right? At one point, you built around Freddie. He's now gone to L.A. Acuna is the guy that you built around. And we have a lot of great players. But to me, the window really ends with Acuna, if he stays or if he goes. You can win without him, but that to me is the window that they are building around. So we'll have to see how it goes. Let's see. Surratt says, Elder had one good year and now stinks. Let's send him in the minors a while he's young. Well, we can't do that, John. He's out of options, which means if we do that, he is more than likely going to be traded. Beyond that, Elder's a tough one, right? That's a guy who had a ton of success in college. I think a guy that could have success in the major leagues, but has changed his game in a lot of ways and changed the way he pitched, and I think it's messed him up. I don't know that it's fair to say he just stinks. I think his game has really just changed, and that he needs to go back to what he used to do and the way he used to pitch, in my opinion. Matt says, Elder was an all-star the same year Arcia was. What is your point? They both aren't good. We can get into the Arcia thing. I don't want to. I've had more arguments about Arcia over the years than I care to admit. Same with Elder. I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't trust Bryce Elder, I don't think you can trust quite a few other guys that we would potentially make a starter. And what I mean by that is Elder at least has MLB experience, and more so than Hurston Waldrop, more so than A.J. Smith-Shawver. And I feel like if you're not going to trust Bryce Elder, then you probably agree with me more so that we need to go out and get a starter. And I am, historically speaking, I've been a guy that has said, well, I think we can make do with what we have because I know how the Braves operate. They don't go out and spend unnecessary money. Right now, I am telling you, I think they got to spend money, and I think they got to get a starting pitcher. I will be surprised if we get to opening day and either Chris Bassitt, Lucas Giolito, Zach Gallen, or Zach Littell, or someone of the sort has not been signed. I will be very surprised. That said, I've been wrong before. I'll just be very surprised, and I'll be somewhat disappointed. We'll see. Matt Kircher says, I want to win a championship. I don't want league average. Yeah, and again, that's kind of why I think we got to go out and spend some money. And Braves fans have become kind of jaded in that we think we never have to spend money to some degree, right? Because we never really do. This is one of those times where we're set up where we pretty much have to. And we can. That's the other thing. We've set ourselves up where we can spend money a lot more freely than we did last year. Because last year we were in the luxury tax. We weren't winning. We might as well go under it to kind of boost ourselves and get ourselves ready for this season. Well, now we're here. So personally speaking, I think we got to spend money. We're not spending money on Ozuna. That contract's gone. So, that's 12 to 15, I think $16 million we're not spending that we could spend on a starter. We could maybe invest in some starting pitching because, look, I'm the same guy that wanted us to spend money on Max Fried. We didn't do that, and that has aged however it has aged. but I wanted us to spend money on Max Fried. How much better would you feel if it was Chris Sale, Spencer Strider, and Max Fried at the top of this rotation, and then once Schwellenbach comes back, it's those four? I'd feel a lot better about that. That's the same, or maybe not the same, but that's close to how I'll feel if we get a Gallon or a Bassitt. That's how I would feel. 4 solid starters once Schwellenbach is back, and that's something you can take to the playoffs and feel good about. Right now, I don't think that's the case. And, of course, you can always catch lightning in a bottle. Grant Holmes and Reynaldo Lopez could always pop out of nowhere and have a great season. But to expect that is a little, how do I put it? It's a little out of character, in my opinion. We're talking about having high standards for the rotation. I want us to have high standards for the rotation as well. Guys, please, once again, put your comments in. Obviously, give me your thoughts on Schwellenbach. Give me your thoughts on Joe Jimenez. How do we feel about Walt Weiss as manager thus far? He's the guy that I thought kind of from the beginning would be the manager, and he was indeed selected. So far, obviously, he hasn't been able to give us great news over the past couple of days, but I think he fits in well. I think he is kind of what I thought, and I think the players like him. I think, everything has been positive from that. So, I spoke with Leo Mazzoni. I mentioned earlier about Andrew Jones going in the Hall of Fame. We also talked about Walt Weiss getting that job, and he basically said it makes the most sense because you're not skipping a beat. You're picking up the same exact management style, the same exact. He was in the room. He knows what was going on. He may make changes, but he at least knows. He doesn't have to be educated on what has been to do what he's doing now. He knows it already. So that is something that's interesting. Sergeant Gibby says he hasn't done anything yet. I guess. He's had some press conferences. That's pretty much about it. I like the hire. Let's see. Mass Boost wants me to name one team that doesn't have an elder type pitcher. The Los Angeles Dodgers. That would be my pick. The Los Angeles Dodgers don't have a Bryce Elder in their starting rotation. That's my take. Bearded One says, great content. Enjoy your commentary and looking forward to the season. Thank you. Appreciate that. Make sure you follow us here and on YouTube as well. We go live. We'll be doing it far more regular going forward now that spring training is in session. But yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Appreciate talking to you guys as much as we get to and talking baseball with some friends of mine. Appreciate that. Matt Karcher says, Elder is fine as a depth piece in the minors or a spot start here and there. I don't want him penciled in the top 5 of the rotation. AA Blue is last option last year. So, yeah. I agree with you. Right now, if you put a gun to my head and I'm looking at this and you're going, who's penciled in? It's either Hurston Waldrop or it's a free agent. If it's up to me, that's who I would be pitching right now. Roki Sasaki, I don't think he's like Bryce Elder. I don't think so. He was getting lit up, that I'll give you, but just because you get lit up doesn't mean you're Bryce Elder. Bryce Elder is more akin to like a pitcher in the 90s. Less more location, less velocity. I don't think Sasaki necessarily plays that way. Also, I would say even if that's the case, I think Sasaki, number one, is adjusting to the league to some degree. I don't think that's equivalent. Sasaki at least played the full season, didn't he? I don't know. I don't think every team has a Bryce Elder. I don't think that's the case. I think if they do, I don't think they have him in their rotation because we didn't have him in our rotation last year. That's my opinion. But even if that's the case, you're $15 million from drastically improving your rotation by adding someone else. So, Mass Boost says Elder has a similar earned run average with better metrics at this point than Sasaki. Yeah, maybe. Karcher, that's a great response. Uh, he says, will the Dodgers trade a Sasaki for Elder? Because I'll tell you, Mass Boost, I would make that trade. I would. Nate Colwell, how long until we bundle Murphy out and get another bullpen arm? I don't think we're going to do that, but we'll see. Jacob, yes, we did discuss Jonah Heim. I like the move. He's clearly going to be, unless he plays himself out of the position, he will be the backup under Baldwin until Murphy comes back. For Nate, you're hoping Murphy never comes back. I will say this about Murphy. He hasn't had it with the Braves. I think we all know that. But he also was playing injured with a torn labrum last season. So, I mean, we'll see. We get Baldwin and Heim being a switch-hitting DH. I like it. I'm not opposed to it. I definitely think catcher DH is the move right now. Yes, Jacob, you're an hour late. This is my brother, everyone. He's asking if I hit all the talking points. Yes, I did, Jacob. Thank you. We talked about Nacho Alvarez. He is getting reps at the catcher position, but only to diversify his game, and that is pretty much it. I don't think it'll be much more than that. It very well could be to increase his trade value. That's kind of my take there. Sergeant Gibby says Elder is an innings eater. Yeah, I mean, I get that, but that's also what Grant Holmes is to me. You know, I'm all for having an innings eater, but I don't necessarily want him in my starting rotation. It's certainly not, because here's where I'm at, right? If you told me right now that Bryce Elder is your fifth guy and that's it, sure, I'll go for that. That's fine. But what I'm skeptical about is that you have Reynaldo Lopez and Grant Holmes above him who could both be hurt at any moment or could both just not have it. And I think you need at least three guys that are solid at the start of your rotation. And that being going into yesterday or the day before, Chris Sale, Spencer Strider, and Spencer Schwellenbach. I was good with that. I have some concerns with the back end of the rotation. And, it's okay if you disagree with me. I have concerns there. And I do think that the Braves need to go out and spend some money on a starting pitcher right now. Because here's the thing. The other guys that are competing right now for championships, they're doing that. And the Braves can spend money, and this is a place where they do need to spend money. This is a place where this is an area of the team that they have not spent money on in quite a while, since Sale, and they didn't spend a ton there. I mean, they traded Vaughn Grissom for Sale. They let Fried walk. They let Morton walk. And they've depended on guys who were former relievers and career minor leaguers in the case of Grant Holmes. Nothing wrong with that, but they need to spend some money here. And I think even if it's a one-year deal with a Zach Gallen or a Chris Bassitt to get you over the hump, I think they need to do it. How much do I think Bassitt will cost? It depends on the length of the contract. So if it's a one-year deal, it'll probably be like a $20 million deal, maybe a little more. If it's a 5-year deal, your average annual value is going to go down. But that said, that's how much I would spend based on what we pay everybody else on the team. If you're asking Chris Bassitt, I think it's probably more like $40 million a year. So obviously teams are a lot of teams are going to be going after the four guys that we mentioned, including Zach Littell. I don't think the Braves are going to want to overspend, but I do think they need to go out and spend some money. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I view it. My brother, the controversial one of the family, is bringing up Trevor Bauer in the TikTok chat. No, it's not going to happen. We already heard Snickers say it. Granted, Snickers not around anymore, but they're not going to do that. He would probably be pretty cheap, but they're not going to do that. Let's see. We got Double A Hate in the YouTube chat. We got a lot of folks in the TikTok chat. Appreciate the likes, by the way. Thank you so much on YouTube and TikTok. Really appreciate that. Sergeant Gibby says Trevor Bauer is cooked, and I tend to agree. Yeah, so obviously a lot of guys that, there are 4 or 5 guys maybe that I think a lot of teams are giving a serious look to, communicating with, maybe throwing out offers here and there. Um, but we'll have to see. I mean, the Braves may also want to go a week or two in spring training and see what they got in a Hurston Waldrop and a Bryce Elder and a Joey Wentz and a J.R. Ritchie and a Lucas Braun. That may help them make a decision, going forward. Do we need to invest in a 1-year deal for a Zach Gallen or he's not going to get a 1-year deal, but a Chris Bassitt or a Giolito or whatever. So we'll see, but I think at this point it's pretty interesting, but I really feel like the Braves got to spend money. I would be surprised if we do not go out and spend at least $15 million on a 1-year deal for a starting pitcher. Let's see. Giolito would be my number 1 pick, with Gallen being a close second. I'm the other way. Giolito's my 3rd pick, Gallen's my 1st, and Bassitt's my 2nd. Who do you DFA once Schwellenbach is eligible to come back on May 24th? Well, I don't have a roster in front of me, but I would have no problem DFAing Elder or Joel Payamps. I mean, there's guys to DFA. Are we talking 40 man? Because if that's the case, you can go beyond that. We don't know who's going to make up the roster just yet, so we'll see. Like Karcher says, at some point you have to make the decision. And I like Bryce Elder. I think Bryce Elder's kind of gotten a raw deal. But at the end of the day, you got to give me results. And in the past 3 years or so, we haven't seen much of that. Diamond Rewind says, don't know if this works financially, but would we be able to get Jordan Montgomery on a cheap prove-it deal? Maybe. And that's kind of up the alley of what AA likes to do. So that could happen. There are other guys out there, but the ones that are getting the most traction, the one that the Braves are linked to, quote-unquote, mainly is Chris Bassitt. That doesn't mean that we're going to sign him, but that's the one that the Braves seem to be linked to. Then again, I think Zach Gallen's kind of, out there as well. I think Giolito. The Braves, if they're talking to Bassitt, they're talking to Gallen, they're talking to Giolito, they're seeing what can be done. We also had, we had someone on YouTube. Thoughts on J.R. Ritchie from the Holler Scholar. J.R. Ritchie, I think, is probably the most likely guy in our minor leagues to be a every 5th day starting pitcher once he gets to the majors, which is why I'm a little hesitant to bring him up now. I don't want him getting the Bryce Elder treatment or even the A.J. Smith-Shawver treatment where you come up for a spot start, you get a little experience, and then you're sent right back down. Because I do believe that is detrimental to the overall development of pitchers. Because what we don't think about how demoralizing it is for a starting pitcher to get called up, have success, and pitch well. The next start gets shelled. All right, well, you're back down to the minors. Then you're going to be trying to do too much every time you get to the majors, and you're going to be trying to prove yourself. And I think J.R. Ritchie is a guy that carries himself like a professional, and I don't mean in the off-the-field sense. I'm sure he does. But I mean he carries himself like a professional on the mound. I think he is one of those guys. That said, I don't know if he's this year or if he's next, but I definitely think he is a guy that the Braves are somewhat protecting. They are developing him and making sure he is going to be ready because I believe that they think the same thing. My buddy Jack Johnson just texted me. I guess he's watching somewhere. And he basically said he does carry himself that way off the field as well. Jack Johnson is the radio play-by-play caller for the Columbus Clingstones, the AA affiliate of the Braves. So that's a first-hand source for you there. He carries himself like a professional pretty much everywhere. And I really do believe out of everyone in the minor leagues, he's got the most chance to be an every 5th day starter. And that's over pretty much anyone else in the minors. And the Braves have guys in the minors. I brought up Lucas Braun earlier. Ian Mejia is another one. And I've seen Mejia. That guy is absolutely filthy. But I don't know how that translates to the major league level. That's something that we have to we have to wait and see. Holler Scholar brings up Giancarlos Lara. Yeah, I brought him up earlier. Pure velo. That the first time I saw that dude, I was at a practice. I was at like media day, and they had a practice going on. He was throwing like a side session, and I saw what 102 looks like from the side, and I'll tell you, yeah, he's got velo. They took him to AAA. He struggled to locate. They tried to make him a starter. That didn't go well. Then they moved him to the pen. That's really where he kind of thrived. So all in all, yeah, he's got talent. We'll have to see. I got Sergeant Gibby on YouTube asking me about Cam Caminiti. Is he ready? Not in the slightest. Cam Caminiti, not because he won't be, but he's young. He has not even reached AA yet. We are hoping we see him this season, along with Owen Murphy. That is that class of prospects. We're hoping to see them this year. And I'll let you know maybe later on this year what I think of Cam Caminiti. I think he's got talent. I've heard about it. Haven't seen it in person. But I definitely think he's got something for sure. And I definitely think he could pitch. It's whether or not, again, if that translates. The Braves drafted him, obviously with an intention in mind. He is one of the more noticed prospects, and not just because of his last name. He's got an arm, but I've got to see how that translates to the major league level, and really how that translates even to the AA level, to the AAA level, because you can be good, but you reach a certain point and you may have to make adjustments, and we're going to have to see on Cam Caminiti if that's the case. Holler Scholar, I don't know much on Garrett Ballman. The other one that I would mention, I mentioned Ian Mejia. Lucas Braun's another guy. Hackenberg is one to keep an eye on at the AA level. He was the one that we were kind of all at the beginning of the year, like, oh, okay, we need to focus on Hackenberg. He's the highest rated prospect that we currently had. Since then, J.R. Ritchie came through and has already advanced to AAA as well. So there's guys there that can pitch for sure. But all in all, I think that we still need to invest in a starting pitcher, at least for this year. I wouldn't have said that as defiantly unless Spencer Schwellenbach got hurt. I thought, hey, they could add a starting pitcher and it wouldn't hurt my feelings prior to the Schwellenbach injury, but now it's kind of like, okay, we've got to do something here. Jake says, why do these guys always feel better than ever until spring training starts, and then all of a sudden their arms about to fall off? I had a conversation with a friend of mine last night, actually, and we were talking about the injuries and just how frustrating it is being a Braves fan. And for my case, being a guy that talks about the Braves, I don't know how, I didn't even have to change the title of this live stream. The live stream prior to this was Ha-Seong Kim injured. I believe the title on TikTok anyway for this live stream is Spencer Schwellenbach injured. That's been my life for 3 years. It's all right, who's hurt now? And that's not fun, especially because my friend said it last night. This is not football. This is not basketball. This is not a contact-heavy sport, and yet we are injured like we are playing in the Super Bowl and not the World Series. I mean, it's definitely something that is frustrating, especially when it comes to pitchers, and I think that is a systematic problem in our organization, and it will continue to be until we make notable changes. Obviously, Rick Kranitz is out. They brought in a new pitching coach. Maybe with a new administration, we see those changes. But honestly, it's baseball now. It's baseball as a whole. I don't know how many times I've spoken to Leo Mazzoni and got him going, so to speak, on a rant about today's pitching philosophies. Because back in his day, not to use that old tired trend, but back in the days of Mazzoni and Cox, they had one or two Tommy Johns in the span of 15 years, and right now, I mean, we've had more than that for the Braves in the past 3, maybe the past 2 even. So it's very frustrating, and I hope that the Braves will, adjust and try to do something, but we'll have to see. Well, Chris Bassitt is off the market, everyone. We're sitting here live breaking news right now. Chris Bassitt and the Baltimore Orioles are in agreement on a 1-year, $18.5 million contract. The 36-year-old joins an overhauled O's rotation that added Shane Baz and re-signed Zach Eflin to join Kyle Bradish, Trevor Rogers, and more. That is from Jeff Passan, everyone. Chris Bassitt officially off the market. You heard it here first. We were live for it. Yeah, F in the chat. Yeah, so there went Chris Bassitt. Are we in on Zach Gallen now? And look, I mean, $18.5 million, I would have done it. I mean, that's what we paid Morton a couple of years ago. I would have certainly done it. So I literally said a few minutes ago, 1 year, $20 million, and they got him for $18.5. So, I'm just gonna throw that out. Here's to hoping that we get Zach Gallen, Lucas Giolito, or Zach Littell. Man, that's frustrating. So, yeah, Chris Bassitt officially off the market. The closer we get to opening day, the more guys are going to go off the market. We're going to have to see. I think that we have to go out and get someone in the next day or two. If we do, if the Braves go out and get someone, we will be live. We will talk about it. So make sure, if you have not already, like the video on YouTube, like the video on TikTok, subscribe on YouTube, follow on TikTok, all that good stuff, because we will go live. I will give you my chat for it, or my takes on it and all that kind of thing, as well as obviously following the Braves throughout spring training. Chris Bassitt, again, officially off the market. He will join the Baltimore Orioles, and we will have to go from there. Wow. Jake says, I should not be this frustrated by the Braves already. This is not healthy. Yeah, man. I would have made that deal if I could have gotten it. I would have made that deal. $18.5 million is very affordable for a guy like Bassitt. I would, especially coming off a day where Schwellenbach is 60-day IL. That's frustrating. All right. 1 year 18 is not bad. I swear I would have made that deal. All right. Well, on that note, everyone, we're going to continue to follow what the Braves do. We're going to continue to follow the free agency market in the starting pitchers. I do think that the Braves will make a move, and we'll have to see how it goes. With that out of the way, if you're watching on TikTok, thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching again. Like, subscribe, follow, whatever you got to do. Just make sure you are following us, and make sure notifications are on. That way you know every time we go live. Really would appreciate it. Before we get out of here, would really like to thank our sponsors, Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC and Opelika. You can check them out at www.glennsmith.com. Really would appreciate it there. They have great deals on any vehicle you might want, and they've also been very good supporters of us. We're looking at doing a show from the showroom again coming up soon. Obviously, I hate we ended on the news that Bassitt's going to the Orioles. It would have been so great for my algorithm if Bassitt had signed to the Braves. It would have been terrific. You have no idea. All right, well, that stinks, but maybe tomorrow they'll sign Zach Gallen, and we'll go from there. Again, thank you for watching, guys. Thank you for being active in the chat on both platforms. Really do appreciate it. If you're watching on TikTok specifically, go check us out on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. We will have more content throughout the week, whether or not the Braves do anything or not. With that out of the way, guys, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.